In this example, I'd like to show a bash script in which I'm going to write something to a file, sort of a very simple way, but have the file name be a variable. Um, in the first example, it would be very much different than sending it to a hard-coded file name. But in my second example, because it is a variable, I'm going to be able to modify it, and I will be able to add a date. And we could do other things like add a random number or test and see like if test one exists, then make it test two, or if test two exists, make it test three, and so on. So there are ways we can use this in a meaningful way. So the first example will seem kind of trivial, and then we'll dress it up a little bit, and maybe in later times we'll do those other examples I mentioned. Okay, so here is the first script, and all we're doing here is assigning a variable. So remember our basic variable assigning. The name of the variable when we are assigning it does not get a $sign. We use an equal to set up the assignment statement, and there are no spaces on either side of the equal. So I've made up a file name that takes a value test.txt. Then I'm just taking the output of a date command and I'm putting it into that file. So usually I would say date arrow and a file name. Now I'm saying date arrow and my variable with a $sign indicating that I now want the value of the variable. And then that was the name of a text file. Then I'm now going to make and put the date into, and then I'm going to do an ls command to show that it's in the file system, and do a cat to see what its contents are. Okay, so what we're seeing here first is the ls. So we're seeing what's in the directory, the dot, the double dot, the bash script main.sh, and the file we created, test.txt. And then we saw the contents of the file was the output of the date. Okay, so we made the text file a variable, but we did not vary it in any way. So it doesn't seem very meaningful at this point. Now let's add some meaning to making it a variable by making it variable, changing it in some way. Now I'm not going to be able to show that it changes, because in this example, I'm adding a date to the file. So to show you that it could possibly change, I'd have to run it again tomorrow, which I'm not going to do. Okay, but let's go. So in line 1, again, I am establishing a variable, my underscore file, no $sign when I'm assigning a value to the variable. I'm working with an assignment statement, so an equal with no spaces on either side. And I have test underscore, and then I have a command set off by ticks. And so I have the date command with some formatting where I'm asking for the year, the month, and the day separated by underscores. And then I'm continuing on after the tick mark ends with my file name. And I didn't even need quotes, as you see. So it's going to be taking advantage of how bash works. And so it's just going to be the string test underscore, and then the date is going to be evaluated and formatted as I want, with year, date, year, month, and day. And then I'm going to continue on with the creating the string, which is .text. Then I'm just echoing that out. So number 2, it's just happens to be a string variable with a certain value. Then in 3, I'm just to have something in that file, create the file and put something in it. I'm executing a date, another date, but I just want the file to have some content. So it could have been just as well echo and say the word hi. It doesn't really matter. And in this example, but again, I'm just running a date command, and I'm putting its output into that file, creating a file. I don't have the file yet, but I'm creating a file with the name that I made above. And then in 4, I'm looking for it in the file system. And in 5, I am putting out its contents. Okay, so there it was. The first thing you see there is the echo. So that at that stage, it's just some string variable. But now it is indeed variable. Like on a different day, it would have a different result. Then you see I put the date into the file that you don't see, but then I run in 4 the ls. So you see the dot, the double dot, the main.sh script, and the file that we just made with the variable, with that name that comes from a variable test, and then the date, and then .txt, and then the last thing you see is the contents of that file. We piped a date, the output of a date command into the file. So we've created a file with a variable name and treated it as a file, put something into it and sort of catted it out. So that's what I wanted to show you. So thanks very much for your attention.